Hey guys, this is Gary. Today I'm going to show you how to actually set up your account. So if you're brand new, you just signed up, when you first log into Bailbooks, it's going to take you to your settings. And settings is this page. If you ever get out and you need to get back to settings, settings is always at the top right hand corner under settings. You got to be an administrator or the account owner to get to settings. So the first part, you'll see I'm on step one and I have to go ahead and enter in the agency name. I'm just going to put ABC Bail Bonds, your business phone number. And this will be the phone number if you signed up for the text alerts, that in the text alert will be the number that's shown for your defendants when they get the text alert. It'll be the business number. So if you have a check-in line and you want them to call that number, you can change the phone business to whatever you want. We do recommend you enter your mobile number. And that's not a required field, but it's a good idea to have it in there. You'll notice that when we get to these pages, anything with a red bar is a required field, meaning you have to fill that in. And again, this is pretty self-explanatory as far as entering stuff as far as the name of your business, the address, and so forth. On the bottom, you'll know it's already set to the state that you selected when you signed up. Again, you can change the state if you're in multiple states. You want to go ahead and use the main address for your office. Down here, the time zone, whatever time zone your company is in. So Mountain Daylight Standard. Okay, I'm done with this section. So I hit save. Now what I do is take my mouse and click on insure. If you're a property agent where you don't have an insurance company, you're going to add your name as the insurance company. So for example, when I click on new insure, again, if you write for an insurance company, it'll be the name of the insurance company. Or if you're a property agent, you're self-insured, you can either put your name, John Garcia, or you can put the name of your company. I'm going to just put I write for Lexington. The display name. So anytime it asks for a display name, that's what's actually going to show up in the dropdown. When you're starting to enter in stuff, there's going to be an insurer dropdown, and that's what's going to show up. So I don't need Lexington Insurance to show up in the dropdown. I can just put Lexington. It has to be 10 characters or less. If you write for more than one insurance company, there's probably an insurance company that you do the majority of your bonds for. You can go ahead and check make default insurer. So I'm going to click this. And what that does is it's always going to have it selected in the dropdown. So I don't have to keep on choosing one. It'll just automatically be selected for the one that I use the most. If you only write for one insurance company, then go ahead and check it. The name obviously is required, but the address is not required. But what is required is the state that insurance company is located in. I'm just going to select, I'll just put Texas. Now, down here, surety premium rates. This is where some people get confused. And I always give the example, if you write a bond for $10,000 and you charge the defendant $1,000, how much do you have to pay for the surety premium? Typically, the normal range is calculating off the bond amount, and it'll be a single rate, and it'll be, say, 1.2%. So what that means is 1.2% of the bond amount. And we always recommend that you do the bond amount, because sometimes people will say, well, I pay 12% of the premium. But the problem with that is if you discount a bond, say you write a $10,000 bond, but you charge the person $800, the insurance company is not fine with you paying them 12% of $800. They want you to pay 12% of $1,000. So if you just calculate off the bond amount, you could charge a dollar for the premium. It's not going to affect what the surety premium rate is. Some insurance companies charge a minimum insurance fee. So let's just say your minimum is $20 that you have to pay them for the surety premium. Now to the right over here under reserve account buff, this is your buff. So a typical buff account will be calculating at 1% of the bond amount. So we'll enter it into Bailbooks as 1.00. Now let's just say you pay a half a point. Sometimes people will think that they can enter in 0.005. In our system, a half a point would be entered in as 0.50. And if you pay a minimum contribution to your buff, this is where you would enter it in. So if you pay a minimum, say, of $5, you can go ahead and enter that in. So we're all set now. I don't need to add the phone numbers if I don't want to. I'm going to go ahead and select save. And then now what that did is it added the insurance company. Again, if you have multiple insurance companies, go ahead and just keep on clicking new insurer. I'm going to go ahead and go add prefixes. Now, I don't know the prefixes for Lexington off the top of my head, so I'm just going to go ahead and put new prefix. And I'm just going to say an L5 is a 5,000. And that face value is 5,000. Hit save. And prefixes, if you're a cash agent, you can just go ahead and put AA as the prefix since you don't even really use them. But in our system, you have to go ahead and you can't skip this step. If you have multiple prefixes, say Lexington has a 10,000, I'll just put L10, and these are 10,000s. You can, if you want to activate a reorder alert and you hit yes, what's going to happen as soon as you get to 10 powers or less, then the system's going to send you a pop-up saying you need to order more power numbers. So if I were to say yes, I could say reorder minimum, notify me at 9 when 9 powers are left or 20 powers. And if that is the case, when my system gets below, my inventory gets below 20, I will see a pop-up that says to remind me to order powers. I'm going to go ahead and just put no. And the face value of these powers are 10,000. So again, if you only have two prefixes now, you can always come back here and but this is where you would add your prefixes. Now getting to step 4, these are your preferences. Sometimes people skip these, but I recommend you don't skip these because it's asking things that are pretty important, like the number of days from failure to appear you have to pay a forfeiture is how many days. So I'm going to say in our state, say it's 30 days. Number of days from receiving a bond release you have to return collateral. So I'll just put 14 days. Now, if there are no time ranges, you can just leave these blank to 0. The number of days that you have to get back your money that you have paid a forfeiture on. So in Colorado, where we're located, you have 365 days to file for remission. So what that means is if I pay a forfeiture and I'm instrumental in getting the guy arrested within a year, I can file for remission to get part or all of my money back. Results per page, we don't recommend you change these. That just means it's 50. It's going to show 50 lines or 50 results per page when I get to bonds or clients. Company default collateral setting. Collateral is held by the company. You can put it by agent. We recommend you just leave it to the company. The prospect default sorting. Again, we don't recommend you change these defaults, but you can say, I want to sort these by last edited date or added date. And when we get to the prospect section, you'll understand what that means, but prospects are basically like leads. Down here, if you want to make a default cosigner, so let's just say for your system, you want to make anytime the defendant's added, he's automatically listed as a cosigner, you can check that. So that way you don't have to constantly keep on adding the defendant as a cosigner. Allow duplicate court dates. This is important because sometimes states will say you have 2 bonds and the guy has a court date at the same time. In our system, it won't let you, by default, it won't let you add more than 1 court date with the same date. But if you tell the system to allow it, then it'll let you do that. So I'm going to go say allow. Now, if I go to the check-in tab, if you have, for your company, have a rule that everybody has to check in on Tuesdays or whatever the day is, tell the system to allow system to automatically or checkbox to enable automatic check-in scheduling. So what that means is every time I enter in a bond, the system's going to automatically enter in this guy or this gal to go ahead and check in on for our system, say Mondays and Fridays. So that it'll automatically add a schedule for them to check in. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and just put everybody has to check in on Mondays and Fridays. Under receipt, you can go ahead and change these. These are the defaults, so we recommend you just leave them. But you can go ahead and tell the system that you want to go ahead and have the surety info to show up on premium receipts. Now, there are some states, I believe Texas, where by statute, the insurance company name has to show up on the premium receipt. So if you live in Texas and that's a required, go ahead and check this. If not, the surety info will not show up on the receipts. If you want Bailbooks to go automatically start generating receipt numbers, then you can check this. And what's going to happen as soon as a payment is received, the system will generate a receipt number. Now, if you have your own book of receipts and they have their own number, don't check this because then the system won't let you add those receipt numbers. So I'm going to uncheck this. If you go to invoices, if you have a logo for your system, for your company, and you want to go ahead and upload it, it has to fit in this dimensions here, this gray box. But what's going to happen is when you print out certain invoices or receipts or reports, that logo will show up. And I'm just going to leave these to the default. Payment plans. So if you want the system to go ahead and send you pop up a reminder. So if you enter in a payment, say for a person, say for $100, and then when you hit save, he's still going to have a balance of 900. You want the system to notify you that, hey, this person has a balance and is not currently set up on a payment plan. Go ahead and check this box, and the system will send that reminder to you every time you enter in a payment for somebody that's not on a payment plan. So I'm actually going to go ahead and check this. Now down below, where it says payment plan date calculation, we do actually recommend that you probably would set this a default to put by payment due date. So what that means is on our system, when you start adding putting people on a payment plan, if you want the system to calculate their frequency from their payment due date, that's what we recommend. So for example, if I say that Joe has to pay us $100 on the 1st, and it's going to be monthly, then what's going to happen is if he comes and makes a payment on the 10th, so he's 10 days late, the system's still going to say his next payment due date is the following month on the 1st. If you were to say last payment date, what's going to happen is if he comes in and makes a payment on the 10th, then the system's going to say he has to come in 30 days from the 10th. But there are some companies that do that, and we have that option for them, but we recommend you tell the system to calculate all the payments due dates and calculate the payment due dates by the payment due date, not the last payment date. And now under bonds, if you want, and we do highly recommend that you do this, that if you don't want your people or you to skip putting in a return court, make it a default. So you can check the box here that tells the system that I want return court to be a default, or not a default, but a required field. So that means that somebody entering a bond cannot skip that. And if you want your people or yourself to not miss putting case numbers, check this. So what's going to happen is when you try to go enter a bond, one of the fields is case number, and by default, by clicking this, you're telling the system that this is a required field. So case number cannot be skipped. So I'm going to go ahead and make these both required fields. So I'm going to hit save. Now I'm done with the preferences section. So now I go to offices. Now under offices, this is where you're going to add your physical offices. So if you only have one office, then it's going to be pretty simple. We recommend you just put the office name as main or main office or whatever you want, or you could put the name of the city. For the display name, I'm just going to put main. And if this is your only office, go ahead and check the box to make this a default. Again, the only required fields are the ones that have a red bar next to them. And down here, it's asking you, so for what state, typically it's going to be 10%, but it wants to know what can you charge or what do you typically charge the customer, meaning the defendant, what percentage rate. So if your state, you have to charge them 10%, go ahead and just double click in here, hit the delete key to clear out the 0.00 and enter 10.00. Colorado, for example, you can charge up to 15%. So again, whatever you can legally charge your defendants, that's what you're going to want to put. In a lot of states and a lot of offices, they'll have a minimum fee of at least $100 or $75. So what that means is if somebody comes in with a $200 bond, you'll do the bond, but it's going to cost them $100. You're not going to charge them $20. So if your fee is a minimum of $100, this is where you'll enter that in. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So now I'm done with the offices. Access levels, if you have people that work for you that you want to let them into the system, but you don't want them to be able to do everything, this is where you would go create a new access level. So if I click create new, I can give the access level a name, say level 1. And anybody that I give a level 1 access level can see all bonds for all offices. They can add bonds, edit bonds, but I don't want them to delete bonds. So what happens here for each of these sections, anything that you check means they can do it. And over here, these are sections. So when we talk about sections, we mean clients, prospects, money. If I don't want my users for the level 1 to be able to run reports, don't check it. So for a level 1, they can see clients, they can see prospects, they can see money, they can go to the power register. They can do everything, but I don't want them to run reports. So I just don't check the reports. And I do want them to be able to put people on payment plans. So I go ahead and check that. And I do want them to be able to see payment history list under the money section. And so they can view totals and print out the list. So if that's not checked, that means they can't see the payment history list. But for a level 1, they can do that. So I can check it. You can also specify for an access level that, say, a level 1, they can access my Bailbooks account any day, and they can access it basically 24 hours a day. Now, there will be times where you hire somebody, a new hire, and you're not sure about them yet, where you can say, I only want them to be able to access Bailbooks when they're working. So I only want them to access Bailbooks on Mondays and Wednesdays. So you check any other days that you don't want them to come in or access your system, you just uncheck it. And you can also put them by a time. So if this person works from you from, say, 8 to 5, and then after that or before that, they should not be able to get into my system, you can specify this person can only access my Bailbooks account from, say, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'm not going to change these. I'm just going to leave these to everything because this is a level 1. So then I hit save, and now I created an access level. So again, if you want different access levels, then you can go create a level 2. So level 2, you could say a level 2 can only see their bonds. So I'm going to go to step 7 now. This is where I start actually adding the agents. So these are people that can actually post bonds and people that you want to be able to keep track of. So I go ahead and click new agent. And then here I can add the agent's name. So I'm going to put Gary Smith. He's an active agent. I don't care about his phone number and address. Right here, I'm going to go to, if I want to add a commission for him, this is where I add his commission rates. But right now, I'm going to go to this tab that says access level /login info. I'm going to set his access level to a level 1, and I'll enter in his email address. So Gary Smith at gmail.com. And then I'm going to check the box to set a password for him. So I just want an easy password initially for him to get in because he can change it when he logs in. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that I've set his password and confirmed it, if I want to go ahead and enable an IP address lockout, meaning Gary can access it, but he can only access Bailbooks from my office. So if you know your IP address for your office, you can check the box and put the IP address. So let's just say the IP address was 72.1.125.24. So that's what's called an IP address. And you can get your IP address by going to Google and typing in what is my IP address, and it'll come back with a result. But if you have this enabled, that means even if he were to give his password to his buddy or his friend, they could have the correct password and email, but they would not be able to get in unless they were in your office on your network. So I can uncheck this. He can access it anytime from anywhere. I'm going to go ahead and put save and send login info. And what's going to happen is he's going to get an email with the welcome email to your Bailbooks account with instructions on where to go and his email address to use and the password. I'm going to go ahead and just hit save. Oh, I missed the display name. So the system will actually show you, like it did, if you miss a required field, it won't let you proceed. I'm just going to put Gary and hit save. So I added an agent. So depending on your plan, you may be able to only add up to 2 agents, or you can add up to 12 agents. So that depends on what plan you have. So for this demo, I'm just going to add the 1 agent. Now I go to non-agent users. So non-agent users are people that can access your system, but that aren't agents. So secretaries, data entry people, your accountant or whoever. And so to add a non-agent, let's say I'm going to add a secretary, you click new staff. And it's just like the other page where you just have to enter their first name, their last name, the display name, and then you set the access level. So let's say you have a girl that she does everything. She's your office manager. You want to make her an administrator. Enter in her email address, check the box to set a password, and same thing. You can hit save and send login info, and she'll go ahead and get an email. I'm not going to add a non-agent user, but that's where you'll go add secretaries. And just to reiterate, I don't know if you guys may have called us before you signed up, but we do not charge for non-agent users. So you literally could have as many as you want. There's no limit. We do bill by how many agents. So you are limited to how many agents you can add, but non-agent users, you can have as many as you want. And we don't recommend that you share or have users share an email address and password. And the reason being is they could do it and nothing would happen. But if somebody made a mistake or somebody deleted something, we wouldn't be able to tell you who did it because everybody is sharing the same login info. So since we don't charge you for that, we recommend that every user has their own email address and password. Going down to counties, we'll typically already have these filled out for you. If you have an account, say in a state that we have people in, we'll go ahead and copy those over. Because this is a test account, we didn't do that. But this is where you would go to add your counties. So just to add a county, say Adams, the county. If you don't have a county code, then that you don't worry about it. Arkansas, you have to use those, but most states don't have it. So you can just put Adams County as the name of the county. And then hitting save. Now that's important because when you get to step 10, where you add the jails and courts, every jail and court that you add has to be in a county. So if you want to add a jail and court, say for Boulder County Jail, you have to go back to step 9 and add the county first. I'm going to go to jails and courts, and I'm going to go add one jail and one court. So I'm going to go new facility, and I'm going to go ahead and add, say, Adams County Jail. So the display name can actually be up to 25 characters for facilities. So what I like to do is when you're adding the facility name, just double click, highlight it, copy, and then paste it in here. And so the display name and the facility name can be the same. Now, if a facility name is, Arapahoe County Justice Memorial Center, whatever, that's too big. Just put Arapahoe County or Arapahoe Jail or something that's 25 characters or less. Down here, it says facility type. This facility type is a jail. And it wants to know down here the county that this jail is located in. So it's Adams. So let's just say it was Boulder and it's not in here. I could just select add new county and add the county here and hit save, and then it'll be available for me to select. Again, you don't have to enter the address. If Adams County Jail is, say, or whatever jail you're putting is the 90% of the bonds we do are out of this jail, then make it the default. That means it's always going to be selected for you when you add a bond. The posted facility would already be set to Adams County, but I could change it. So I'm going to make this the default. So I'm going to hit save. And now I'm going to go ahead and add a court. So same thing, I'm just going to change this from jail to court. Facility type now is court. County that it's located in is Adams County. And this is the court that most people go back to for our account. So I'm going to say make default court facility and hit save. Now I'm done. So bond charges is step 11. So I go to bond charges. And this is what the person is being charged with. Again, we'll typically fill these out for you. For whatever state you're in, we probably already have a database built of charges. But for example, let's just say I want to add child abuse. I add child abuse and hit save. So the reason we make you do that is so once you add a charge, when you're entering a bond, and that'll be a subsequent video you can watch, you won't have to enter it in. You'll just have to start typing CHILD, and it'll sort everything that has child as a charge already in your system, and then you'll just select it. And again, if you have typical like domestic or the most common charges, you can start adding that in. Domestic, third degree, or whatever you want to put here. That's pretty self-explanatory. If you make a mistake, you can always go back and edit, and then you can change it. The last step is the adding the powers. So if you'll remember on step 3, we added the prefixes for the insurance company. Here, you can actually start adding the powers that you may have in your briefcase or unused powers. So let's just say we do have a power, batch of powers, and they haven't been used yet, and I want to get them into Bailbooks. So I'm going to enter in the first power number, so let's just say it's 125, and the last power number in the batch is 150. So as long as they're in sequential order, you can do 125 as the first and the last 150. And what's going to happen is the system's going to add everything in between. The expire date, let's just say those powers expire December 31st of 2017. Powers are from, so since Lexington's the only insurance company we have, it's my only option. And powers have prefix. This is where I say, okay, these are 5s, L5s. For most companies, you can just leave these to the default. The assigned to office, assigned to agent, and set power status to, just leave those to the default. Anytime you're adding more than one power, the system's automatically going to plug in a batch ID. You can't override this or change it. It's just a way that if there's anything that ever happened, we can tell you what powers were added in that batch by the batch ID. If you want to go ahead and just print a receipt because you want to have somebody sign for these powers, you can hit save and print receipt. Or if you're adding multiple uh, batches, you can do save and add more. For the sake of this, I'm just going to hit save. And the system's going to tell us that we're about to add 26 powers. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK. And then you'll see now we're done. All of our required steps are done. They have a green check mark next to them, meaning we've completed them all. If I go to the power section, you'll see under my inventory, total powers available are 26. So this is, again, just a quick video that we made for you to get through the initial, once you sign up, if you wanted to go through the video, or you can call us and get a training. But basically, the training does consist of what we just went through. If you have any questions about anything you saw here, please don't hesitate to call us. And our number is 720-254-1267. Have a great day.